All right, it's another episode of Cats on Guard, the podcast. How could I not remember what we're doing? I had to think about what we're doing. It's a podcast. The podcast where real live airline pilots, myself, MC Howe, my co-captain Richard Million, we share secrets from behind the flight deck door, the real stories of what happens up in the sky and on layovers in hotels and at Brazilian steakhouses. And
well, you know that's my favorite place. Why are you talking about it? Hello, everyone.
hi.
Co-captain Richard Million here.
Last night, I was on a layover with a guy, and there was a Brazilian steakhouse right next to the hotel. And when I figured I was going to be doing this, I said, well, I'm just not going to eat all day because you got to prep. You can't just go into that.
I have a question, though. Did you, so when you see this Brazilian steakhouse, does it make you think of me?
Every time. Absolutely.
Like the trip, the podcast. Yes. I can't see a Brazilian steakhouse anymore without realizing that's how this podcast was conceived, over dinner at a Brazilian steakhouse.
You wined and dined me, and I said, this is the guy I'm going to spend my podcast career with.
I love it. I love it. All this meat.
So last night, I said, or yesterday in the morning, I mentioned this to my flying partner, and he goes, I got leftover tacos. I'm good.
No.
What? I was like, and then he went to Subway and he got himself a sandwich.
That's when you got to break out that captain pay and take that guy out for a good meal.
Well, here's the problem. Dinner at these places is like $65 now. And he wasn't coming. He had his tacos and he wasn't. And I'm not going to go by myself and have $60 worth of steak as much as I want to. I've done it before. Lunch. I always go at lunch. It's
no
cheaper.
Shame. I will do that by myself in a heartbeat. Zero shame. Table for one, please.
Well, you know what? His Subway inspired me. And I thought, if I eat this Subway and I'll get a foot long and fill myself up, that way I won't be able to go and talk myself into the steak. So I didn't get it. And I will forever regret not having that meal. But you know what? You wouldn't have been there. It wouldn't have been the same. So
that was really cool. Was that Pittsburgh that we did that? I can't remember.
Yep, it was.
Yeah,
it was Pittsburgh. Was it Texas de Brazil?
Fogo de Chao. I can't remember. They're all so good.
I know they are. Do you know that's where I'm having my retirement party?
Brazil?
At the Brazilian. Well, I should go to Brazil. I will
That's
go.
a retirement party.
Everybody I've ever flown with is invited to Brazil for the Brazilian steak, or just the one down the street.
That's a little easier on the pocketbook. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll do that and reminisce on our days of flying and all the things that it took us to get here. And one of those things it takes to get a job as an airline pilot is the airline pilot interview. And I think we teased this last time. Do you have any stories of your airline interview? You've had a lot of jobs, maybe more than I have. Both. Yeah, maybe you've had more jobs than I have.
I'm trying to count here live. It's putting me on the spot, but I'm thinking like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I can count on one hand, maybe. I think it's not that many. Some people have dozens. It really is a dice roll in this industry. Have you seen? Well, I'm sure as you fly with different people, like depending on when you hit the track in your little race car journey of aviation career, you could be in for like 7 furloughs over 5 different companies, or you could show up to one job and just be there for 30 years and never leave. There's a total dice roll in the door, and you really can't control it. You have no idea what the economy and the industry and the company that runs your company is going to do. You get sold off, you get chopped, you get acquired, merged. All these things happen, right? I mean, I can only count on one hand for mine, but
and the I guess, is it like the super career, the super pilot is the one that's been through all of that. They've been through furloughs and downgrades and bankruptcies and closing shop and starting over. And
I have my hand up. I think I hit all of those. Bingo. Airline bingo. Merger, acquisition, furlough, airline collapse. I even got a job for a job that didn't really exist. You want to hear that one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay. So back in the day, what is now Endeavor was Colgan, Mesaba, and Pinnacle Airlines merged together. I was there for when I was at Mesaba training, when someone broke in the door at like 9:05 a.m. and we're all sitting there in new hire class. And they're like, Delta we just we're Delta now. Like there's no more Northwest Airlines, so we're no more Northwest Airlines connection or correct whatever the subtitle was for the regional. And everyone's like, what does that mean? Like, do we still have jobs? Like, I don't know. So I was there for that merger, right? But shortly thereafter, 2008 happened and they were cutting back. So I did get furloughed from that job. Well, then I had no job. So I went and moved back into my mom's house and was looking for a
Oh,
job. And you know what's funny? And I should preface this with before joining Masaba, I had recently been furloughed from my cargo job. And I'll never forget this is, just always having your eyes and your ears open around work was I was walking out of the cargo job parking lot in like a summer day, and some of the upper people were walking out as well, and they said hi or whatever to me, and I said, "Hey, yeah, thanks." And they're like, "Nice bike," right? Because I was on a motorcycle, and I was like, "Yeah, I just got it. I just got this thing like a week ago. Isn't this cool?" And they weren't excited for me.
how rude.
It was like they were like, "Yeah, that is pretty neat," and they
They
kept
weren't
walking.
pilots. They weren't pilots if they
No,
weren't
that
excited over
wasn't
your
it, that wasn't
motorcycle.
it. They all knew we were getting laid off next week, and they just, like, you can see it connected in their head that, like, this dude just spent some money that shouldn't have spent right now because he doesn't know what we know, and then after I could look back on that awkward parking lot interaction and go, "Oh," right? Alright, so fast forward, I moved the bike back to my mom's house, and I'm riding around on this two-wheeler because I don't have a car anymore, and, I'm going to this interview for this job. It was not quite charter, but it was not quite private. It was in a twin Cessna. You have experience in those, right?
A little bit, not
Yeah,
really.
so what we were gonna do was we were gonna pick up rich people from the big airports. They say they fly in first class from Japan to, I don't know, say JFK, and then they wanna get to their home, but they don't wanna sit in traffic. So they wanna get moved from big airport to their house as fast as possible. Say it's like, I don't know, mid Connecticut or something from JFK, like a short hop, but pretty long in traffic. So we're going to be that person. So I interview, I tell them what I've done. I've got jet type ratings. You're perfect for the job. We'll do like a week or two of OJT on the job training. We're not going to have you on the payroll or the employee list yet because you're not. We don't know if we want to take you on board, but we're gonna send you out and see how you do, see how our passengers' feedback is with you, and then after a couple weeks, we'll make a decision. I said, cool, sounds good. I can fly this plane. So I did like a couple of checkout flights with their guy. They're like, good to go. Here's the keys. Go get them. So I start doing trips and I make some tips, which was nice. Tips were good.
Tips are fun.
Yeah, right. Because it's private. Nobody tips at the airlines. They
No,
really
I wish
should,
they
though. Hey,
would.
guys.
They really should. I've
Yeah, just
advocated
flip the
that for
screen
a while.
around.
$1 per crew member from each passenger. That's not that much.
Flip the screen around. It's just going to ask you a question, right? That innocent
You
begging
know,
for a tip.
I was in a van today on my way home, and I always have a buck in my pocket for the van driver. He had on his dashboard some QR codes, Venmo, PayPal, however you want to do it.
Yeah,
It's the
because he
first time
knows
I've
not
seen
everybody has
that.
cash anymore. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
that a bit. It's getting bad in the tipping world. You know what drives me nuts, and this is
I'm
way
going to
off
put that on
topic,
my
but
bag. I'm going to put that on my
the
bag.
QR code, they leave your
Yeah,
bag in the cockpit entryway. They're like, scan this code to send your appreciation this way. So so I had a rant, and this has gone on for the as long as I can remember. These frozen yogurt shops. Do you know you ever take like your family for frozen yogurt, and
sure.
you pump your own?
TCBY and the like.
Sure, yeah, Menchie's or whatever. Yeah, what's the one in red mango? I think is one I like. Anyway, you walk in, you pour yourself your own quantity of stuff. Right, you're getting billed by the weight, so they give you a huge cup, and they like you can put like a normal serving, and it doesn't look like enough for the cup, so you always keep going. They know that.
I know. I know.
Then you go over the topping bar and you add more weight to your cup because there's 100 toppings. These things don't expire. They're like ingredients they can have out forever. It's a money pit. You fill your plate up, you put it on the what do you call it? Scale, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
converts weight into bill and it tells you you owe $11 for this cup of yogurt. So I go
Gosh.
to pay, right? I go to pay and then it has the balls to ask me for a tip. Who am I tipping? Who am I tipping? What work?
Yourself.
Yes, I did all the work here. This is
True.
my tip. Tip
It's
to myself.
everywhere, though.
I'm like, "What
That's
did
the
you do? You
way
pushed the button and you stuck a spoon in it at the end. You don't get a tip for that, I'm sorry."
every paying app is set up that way now. It doesn't matter. You go
Oh
to the
my
hardware
gosh.
store and you buy a wrench, they want you to tip. It doesn't matter.
Well, okay, I digress. I got
Me
good tips on this gig. And then so this interview I did was like, super smooth. I'm like, man, I killed it. And they have like a Global Express or a Gulfstream or something. Like, we can work you up through the ranks here. If we like you. Turns out this all was a complete sham. None of it
What do you
really
mean?
existed to
What?
me. What I ended up finding out on the internet years later, because like Reddit wasn't really a thing in 2008 or 2009, but like the more information is out there in the pilot world, the more things come to light. So after the 2 weeks, I get the thanks but no thanks. You know, we're good. We don't need you. So then I move on. I ended up turns out the cargo airline that furloughed me before this whole stint of unemployment was ready to bring me back. And so I went back to that job and I spent over a decade more there. So all was good in the end. But what I found out just out of like pure, I don't know, frustration in that job process was someone else was online like, "Hey, I also did a 2 week on the job training for them. And then they cut me loose in 2 weeks." And then somebody else chimed in, "I also did that in
Hmm.
2005." And it turns out that their busiest 2 weeks of the year, about 2 months out, they get some poor schmuck like me who's looking for a job, and they promise them a job for OJT. And the OJT happens to be on their busiest 2 weeks of their year, every year.
Well, that's sus, isn't it? As the
Well,
kids
yeah. I
say.
mean, yeah. Oh gosh, are you into that too? What a
Yeah. The kids speak? Totally.
kid speak.
Totally
Cringe. It's
down.
cringe, Dad. Cringe.
Yeah. Well, that scenario is not strictly to the aviation world. I've talk about Reddit. I have gone down the job interview path on subreddits. I don't know why. I don't know how Reddit figures out that I'm interested in these things because I wouldn't be. Something catches my attention, I click on it, and then it's all in my feed. But I've heard it's a lot of people like people with real jobs, or like, what would be, I don't know what a real job is. I don't know what people do in the office world, but say you have to put together a presentation for a potential client. Show us what your hypothetical presentation would look like. And then they take that person's hypothetical and they take it to their real client. And it's like, oh,
You're doing
we
free
got
work for
this.
them.
Yeah, you're doing free work. And they don't hire you at that point
Yep.
either.
I've
Yeah.
read that same situation. I follow a bunch of like business pages that both business favoring management and business favoring labor. And it's funny to watch both sides of this. Hey, they have a really good idea. Don't actually tell your supervisor about it because they're going to use it and get credit for really good work that you brought to their doorstep. Yeah, it's best if you're an honorable person, you'll give credit where the credit's due. Hey, Captain Million had this really good idea, and I think we should use his idea. Now that's a good manager, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if Captain Million tells Chief Pilot, "Hey, we should be doing this," and then that person runs and waves a checkered flag and champions the idea, now you're creating some problems among the ranks. But tell
Well,
me about a normal interview. Have you had any my interviews have all been kind of wacky. So give me
that's
a normal
normal.
run of the mill.
Normal?
I don't
The
know, like a
normal,
regular
normal,
interview.
the regular interview is probably the one I didn't get. That's,
Oh, so both of us are just oddballs in the interview environment?
I'll tell you, you know what? We'll go to my first. I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about you interviewing for your first ever flying job? Is that CFI? Is it cargo or is it airlines? What do we want to
Well,
focus on here?
a lot of our listeners aren't professional pilots, so let's give it to them in layman's terms. Just like you're off the
Okay.
street, you want to become a pilot someday, and eventually you're going to get to your jet job. The CFI interview is kind of like internal, right? They already know who you are. You train there.
Here, yeah, here's how my CFI interview came. I did all my flight training at this school and I got my CFI. I went out, did my CFI check ride, and I earned my CFI. I came back into the building after having passed, and the owner of the flight school said, "You want to work here?"
Yep,
Done.
pretty
That was
standard
my
story.
interview. Yeah.
Mine is pretty close to that, except I've been nudging them like, "Hey, you gonna hire me once I get my ICU? Are you gonna hire me? Are you gonna hire? Look what I can do. Look what I can do." And they did, right? But same story. Like, hey, okay, he's qualified now. He's finished the
Because
program.
they
Let's bring
know
him
you
back.
at that point. They know if
Yep.
you're up to it or not. So now my first real job outside of CFI was at a cargo operator who we have talked about on the worst employers episode.
That's a good lead into this
And
story.
this was a guy or a place I heard about through a student at the flight school. He said, "Listen, they're hiring guys over there. They were flying cargo out of Fort Lauderdale over to the Bahamas, and they had a couple of 402s and a couple of Britain Norman Islanders,
Oh,
which
those are so
is
cool.
an airplane I'd never even heard of before in my life. I'd probably seen it, but I didn't know what it was. So I go over there and I said, listen, I've been CFIing for I think about 2 years at that point. I had about 2,000 hours. I had myself an ATP because you could do it back in those days real easy. Not all the hoops you got to jump through these days. He's like, well, I don't know. Won't you fly with us a little bit? Like you said, come fly with us a little bit and we'll see. And so it was a lot of back and forth, like that kind of thing. And then what it came down to was their insurance needed to provide a waiver because they wanted like 2,500 hours to fly the 402. So they're like, we'll let him fly the Islander, but not the 402. So
You sound the way you make this out to be is like the other dude was smoking a cigarette up there with you, flying the cargo over to the Bahamas.
I don't think that he ever did smoke a cigarette, but everything else that would go along with that characterization, yeah. And that includes, like you, one of my training flights where we were going over, and this was in a 402, but I wasn't allowed to fly it. So I was just sitting right seat, observing. We went over to one of these islands to pick up 8 passengers in a 10-seat airplane, including the 2 pilot seats. And 9 passengers showed up and they said, well, guess who gets to stay on the island?
You weren't a paying passenger that day, huh?
No, but the guy felt bad. The guy that took, like talking about getting tips, the guy gave me $100 for my trouble. So, you
Oh,
know,
well, that's nice.
I wandered the island for a few hours in the hopes that somebody might come back and pick me up, which they eventually did. But
Oh boy.
uh,
So the
yeah,
interview itself was pretty informal then.
it was. And you know what? One of the things the guy said to me, and we covered all of this in that episode, Worst Employers. He said to me, "We want you to stay a year." I said, "Okay, what if I don't?" "Well, we can't force you. We're not going to make you sign anything, but we'll just make your life miserable." And he did. Oh, he did. And if you want the details, go check out that episode, Worst Employers. Because following that, I very quickly got another interview at a regional airline, which was my goal. I mean, regional, no, nobody wants to do that as a lifetime. Some people do, I guess, but it's a stepping stone to bigger and better things. And I got an interview. So I had to fly across the country to do this, which was interesting too, because I got a phone call from my old flight school where I used to instruct. And they're like, hey, we sold an airplane to a guy who lives out in LA, and we wonder if you would fly it out to him. So I flew this little Piper Warrior single engine airplane with most bare bones equipment you can imagine all the way across the country. And I stopped on the way to do this interview. And so I was like, this is great storytelling stuff, you know? What an opportunity to share how I got here. So that interview, and I had not interviewed before for like an airline. It turns out there's a lot of prep work that goes into this. Are you aware of
For
this?
some.
For
I
some, yeah.
am ignorant of it. I have never done a prep course for an airline interview ever.
Well, I hadn't either. And I know that I was studying some stuff along the way because I took my dad with me on that flight so that I wouldn't kill myself. Just, my dad's not a pilot, but at least he kept me awake talking to me. And there was one night where like I was like a day or two from this interview and we had finished flying for the day and my dad's like, let's go to the bar and get a drink. And I'm like, I got to study. I've been busy flying all day and now I got to study because I get this interview. I know I was studying. I don't remember what I was studying, ATP stuff, or they're going to ask you about the airplane you fly, I guess. I was curious if any of them had ever even heard of an Islander and what questions they were going to ask me about it. So I thought I'm probably going to be the expert in the room on that one. But
That's awesome.
yeah,
You know more than they know about it, yeah.
you hope.
Well, they're used to hearing people come in and ask, "What did you fly before?" "Oh, Seminole or a Cessna," or like, rarely do they hear those offshoot types that people get flight time in, right?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I don't know if I impressed them or not. This was also an airline that had its own little flight academy. So they
Okay.
were taking guys from 0 hours to commercial pilots, so 250 hours, and then putting them in a regional jet.
Yeah, that was old rules, right? That's no longer applicable.
Yeah, but most of the people that were doing this interview came out of that program. So they were trained from day one to pass this particular interview. And here I am coming in off the street with no idea of what I was doing or what I was expected. So,
How'd it go?
well, I got the job. And I think the fact that I already had an ATP and a couple thousand hours compared to these 250-hour Wonder Kids might have done something in my favor. I don't know.
Big time, big time.
I remember, I don't remember too many specific questions, but I do remember them putting an approach plate in front of me. And they said to me, just for the non-piloted, picture, if you will, an approach plate it's a piece of paper that we used back when they were paper, a chart depicting a way of flying to an airport where you can't see. So it's a bunch of lines and numbers. It's kind of like a map, but it doesn't really look like any map you've ever seen. It doesn't have anything that a regular person would recognize if they looked at it.
No, it has a line that kinda lines up with the runway. It has a lateral guidance section, it has a vertical guidance section telling you how high you have to be at what point, how many miles, and you'll eventually end up, if you follow this trail from up there to down here on this line, you'll end up at the runway.
Right.
N
So,
In short, yeah, that's an approach plate, but yeah, in interviews, we always somebody always throws one at you and looks for some weird figure that you haven't referenced in forever.
it's exactly what happened. They throw this thing down and they say to me, "What's the distance from this point to this point?" And it was like, oftentimes distances are written specifically. Here's the mileage from here to there. But these were two things that were not measured that way. And it was like, a tower. They'll put like the tallest tower, which is just tiny little triangles shape with a number on it for the height. So what's the difference from this? What's the distance from this tower to the runway? And I looked at this chart, and for the first time in my 2,000 hours of ATP and certified instrument flight instruction of teaching people how to read these, for the very first time, I looked at it and noticed that there was actually a scale on the side of
Yeah,
it that showed
yep,
distances. I was like,
yeah.
oh, it was like, oh
You
my
can use,
God.
like, your pressed thumb to figure out, like, if the pressed thumb width is 2 inches or is 2 miles, you can, like, plan it out over the paper, yeah. That's so dumb. Why do that? You know that those people interviewing never use that either.
Mean, but I nailed it. I saw it and I
Nice.
said, "It's
Yep.
this." And that was, I guess I impressed him. So that was a long time ago and I got that job. And then the training thing, that's a whole other episode that we got to go through because that's a whole different world from interviewing.
Yeah. So I think I had one of my interviews, at the cargo place was like they tried to do big airline interviews, but they aren't a big airline.
Oh yeah.
Kinda looking back at this kind of felt embarrassing, but, like, you go in and you have, like, your morning slideshow where they tell you about the company and how happy we are to have you here, blah, 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 right? And then they had some, like, group exercises in a classroom, and you're looking at the person with the PowerPoint presentation, and then they start like, while this was going on, they would pull you out to do these little simulator evals. Now, I'm told that the big airlines, they have, like, an actual simulator you get in to
Oh, yeah.
like have a flight test where they watch. They're like, "You've never sat in this thing before in this airplane. You don't know this airplane. Why are you evaluating me based on this?" Right? Anyway, this one was an actual like Microsoft flight simulator at a desk with a toy yoke, and it had this ridiculous contraption with little switches and like a fake overhead panel. They're like, "We want you to hit these two switches at 1,000 feet. Got it?"
Oh my God.
Oh, it was so, like, embarrassing, but yeah, we
Well,
flew they just wanted to see you scan, instruments on an ILS, right? So they vectored you in. You basically just hand flew one approach from 10 miles out, and then they wanted to see that you can do the 1,000-foot click the switches. Got it. Okay. Basic scan. If you mess up, go around, we'll vector you back around.
okay. Well, you just reminded me of some interviews I'd forgotten I'd been on.
There are more.
Yeah, there are more. And so I was flying at the region, I was flying the Embraer 145 for a couple of years. And then I was ready to move on from that. And there was an airline that was called Compass that was starting up.
Yeah.
Delta Northwest owned them. They were going to be flying the Embraer 170. I figured it's a good, easy transition from the 145. So I went and I did the interview, which was with a Northwest Airlines captain, very senior, grizzled, old captain who was very no nonsense. I don't remember any of the details of the interview except that he said, "All right, we're going to test your flying skills now." And I thought, this is good because, 145, I'm ready to jump in that 170 and show him what I can do. Except that he puts me in a 727 simulator,
Oh, that's hilarious.
which I've never
Man,
been in the history of my life. And all automation off. I'm to hand fly and approach. And
six
I was
pack,
terrible.
steam gauged.
It
Oh,
was
that's awesome.
horrible.
The
It was
7.2
the,
is such a good bird.
and I knew within a minute that this interview was over.
So they had Compass pilots interview checking in a 7.2 sim. I bet you that Northwest guy has plenty of 7.2 time
Well, I'm sure he did. He was
in all three
probably
seats.
He probably is like, I've said you can tell how a trip is going to go in the first 30 seconds of sitting down next to somebody. He saw me sit down and probably couldn't figure out my seatbelt. And he's like, this guy's done. So
I think I'm one of the last couple dozen people that ever had 727 put on their pilot certificate too.
you probably are. In fact, I flew with a guy. I flew with him quite a bit. He's like, I had to leave my last job because I loved it. He was like, I was there for 23 years flying 7.2, but they were down to one 727 simulator in the US. And
Yep,
when that goes down, I'm done.
yep,
So,
they're done too. Yeah, that
yeah,
one is
yeah.
in Sanford, Florida, because I
Is it?
remember that was my sim spot when I was on there, and that was the last one. People would fly in from Africa and Europe and
My
South
God.
America. Anybody who
That's
has
the
a
last one in
7.2
the
left,
world? Is that the last
yeah,
one in the world?
they would fly in from all over the world to
My
Orlando
God.
to
Can you
go get
imagine the
their sim training
backlog?
done.
That's
No, it's not
insane.
really. There's no backlog for a
Well,
dozen airplanes globally,
I guess maybe.
20 airplanes, and they don't regulate other countries like we do. I mean, there's a handful of VIP ones that exist. But, oh gosh,
Yeah,
that's funny. So, yeah, to
yeah.
finish my embarrassing Microsoft Flight Simulator interview, we went out, and this one learned me something for a long time. We went out to lunch, and one of the guys conducting the interview was a Vietnam era pilot. I think he was Navy officer. Anyway, takes the group out to lunch. We had Chinese food, and they're discussing history and the guy that's interviewing us, his military history and what he did, and one of the interviewees decided to debate the success of our service in Vietnam, like with the guy who served there. And it was like a did we win or did we not discussion. And I'm like, that's not interview material, buddy. Like pipe down. And oh boy, I shut my mouth and just sat back with popcorn. Oh, not popcorn, crab rangoon. Crab rangoon at the Chinese restaurant, and I just watched this, and I'm like, that dude is not getting a job without a doubt. Anyway, well, because they told us completely informal. This is not part of the interview. We're just taking you out to lunch so we can have some food and go back and do more interview stuff. And that's where they really find out who you are, right? Because they just told you to take your guard down. Like I'm told in these newer interviews that when you're all sitting in like a room together, like pre-interview or mid-interview, and everyone's just kind of chilling, that they're still kind of keeping an eye on who's socially doing what they're doing. And are you the pompous guy? Are you the recluse? Or.
Because isn't that really what they're evaluating? Not your flying skills so much as, can I spend 4 days with this person?
Yeah, 2
And
feet from each other's shoulder. Yeah.
yeah, or are they going to drive me insane? Am I going to be down at the Walmart like Clark W. Griswold picking out a handgun? I'm going to talk about another interview that didn't go very well for me. And this one started going wrong on the night before the interview. I got a phone call from the interviewers, which was I. I was the interviewee. I got a phone call from the interviewer who said to me, "We're trying a more toned down, casual approach, and we don't want you to wear a tie to the interview tomorrow." And
Did you
I
have it in
was,
your pocket anyway?
well, no, I had one around my neck because what? How can I not wear a tie? That's just the way it's done. So I go up there to interview, and of course, I'm the only jackass wearing a tie. And so right
You tell
away,
them it wouldn't feel right to come here as a professional and not have a tie on.
yeah, but what they learned was this is a guy that doesn't know how to follow the rules. And so,
No, you
sure.
spin that just the way I just spun it. I understand what you guys were asking about an informal environment, but feel like as a professional, I need to give you my 100%. I mean, I'm a bullshit artist, right? So I wanted to give you my 100% best professionalism, which to me is a suit and tie.
Well, I guess I should have had you coaching me. I should have
Come
done your
on,
prep.
spin it around,
I
sell
should
them
have
the
done your
yeah.
prep course. I
Gosh.
don't think as quickly as you do. Oh my gosh. So that didn't go well. But then let's talk about the job interview that did go well. At my current job, I walk in, and one of the things that they did back then, you have a group of 10, 15, whatever it is. It's a kind of a long affair, almost an all-day affair to get that many people through because they spend like 40 minutes to an hour talking to each individual. And so they have to keep everybody else busy. And one of the things they would do is they would make you take a test. They give you the ATP test, however many questions from it. It's really just busy work. I bet they don't even look at it. It's just keeping you busy. But meanwhile, you're in a room with all those other people. And again, it's like you said, I think they're checking how many people are
What you're up to, what you're doing, who are you?
right, right. And so while I'm in there doing this little test, someone else is doing the interview. A guy walks into the room who had been a student of mine way back when I was a CFI. And he works at this company now. And he's conducting the interviews. So,
Well, hello, old friend.
well, yeah. So,
Was it didn't you 2 not get along if I remember, or was this no, different relationship?
no, no,
Did you get
no. This
along at
was a
that
different.
point?
I get along with
Okay.
everybody. You know me.
Do you? Do
Uh,
you?
do they test whether a person is a liar or not? So I walk in there to the interview, and it's two pilots and an HR lady, and he's one of these two pilots. So right away, it was very relaxed and informal. And I guess he got a notion that I was kind of a funny guy. So he told these two before I walked in, or as I walked in, he's real funny. He's just going to make us laugh the whole time. And they're like, okay, funny guy, make us laugh. And I was like really put on the spot there. Like, this is not what I prepared for. Like, I don't have a bit. But it was very cool. It was very relaxed. And there was a lot of laughter. I guess they judged me someone they could spend 4 days with. So they gave me the job right there on the spot. Most of these other places are like, we'll let you know when they call you a few days with a yes or a no. This place,
Yeah, that's terrifying, isn't it? You gotta go home, you're like, "I wonder how I did." So I thought when I left or when we were working together, I thought that I bombed the interview. Like, there were people that got offers. They were, like, walking in the parking lot with their offers, and I didn't have one, and I thought I was highly qualified, but, maybe I did something, maybe I said something. I don't know. Well, I got a
you
call the
just
next
don't
day.
know.
It was like, "No, we'd like to," yeah.
I think, again, they are just trying to see, is this a person that we can hang out with? You know?
Yeah, yep.
So I guess plenty of people have not wanted to hang out with me, but one or two have. So that worked.
1 or 2 over. Oh, let's see, do I have any other good interview ones?
Of all your jobs, I can't believe that you
I
don't have
know,
more because
I
I have
know.
more.
It's
I have
well
more jobs I didn't get too.
well, then let me hear about so did I ever not get a job that I interviewed for? I don't this sounds kinda pompous, but I don't think so.
All right. Well, let me talk about one then. 2008. You talked about 2008,
Yeah.
bad time in aviation. The economy tanked. All the airlines started furloughing. And I was amongst those who got axed, or not axed, but, asked to take a leave from work for a while, an unpaid leave. And it was at a time when the only place you could get a job was outside of this country. So I ended up going over to the United Arab Emirates, a place called Abu Dhabi. And there was a airline over there called Etihad, and they extended an interview offer to me. So this was like, do we want to end our lives and move across the world and live in the desert? And we were childless at the time, so we went over all the pros and cons, and we said, yes, let's do this. It will be an adventure. And I'd heard all the stories about, you go to Emirates. Emirates is like the premier Middle East carrier. Everybody wants to work at Emirates. Well, this was Etihad, not Emirates. When they say Emirates, will bring your spouse over. They'll give you first class
Oh,
seat.
I
They'll
remember
make
this.
it very accommodating, and like this is a place that really courts. every inch of you. Etihad, on the other hand, didn't quite do that. I get up to JFK and I meet like 10 other pilots that are going over there to interview, and they put us all in the last two rows, middle section of whatever airplane it was. And I was in the middle seat amongst all of these guys. So I got 10 pilots on either side of me or surrounding me in the last second to last row. Not quite the experience I had read, and it was like a 5-day thing from the time you get there to the time you go home. And they said, day one, you do your basic interview, your one on one, your whatever. Day two was something like getting a medical exam or something. Day three, there's a simulator. So it was very structured from the time you get over there. So we go over to day one. And one of the things about these carriers is that a lot of expats take these jobs. And so they provide housing for people like me.
Yeah, like a little
And you're
America
not
over
from the
there.
Middle East and you're going to come over here. So we're going to give you a place to live. Or the other thing they do is they give you money toward purchasing your own home, which sounded pretty good. The homes that they provide for you are right across the street from the headquarters. So it's like Big Brother watching you at every moment. I'm like, I just got a vibe. There was a vibe in the place. And so you go in the room with all these other 10 Americans, and they're like telling you about the company and telling you about the training. And they say, well, we've had an issue training American pilots, and we want to ensure that everybody gets through. So our rule now is that everybody must have one takeoff and landing in the previous 6 months before starting training. And oh, by the way, you can expect training in about 6 or 9 months from today. Now, this is a bunch of guys that have all lost their jobs, and we've already been out for 3 or 4 months at this time, most of us. So at some point, you do the math, you're talking about more than 6 months to training. What? I got to go find an Airbus to rent and go around the pattern one time so that I can get my landing and tell them that I'm still current. So right away, it was like, I'm not feeling that. Anyway, then they had us doing little exercises together again to see how we work together. Like we had to build a what are those? What are those things that go together? Tonka toys? Tinker Toys. We had to build a vehicle with Tinker Toys and a tunnel to drive it through. And they split us into teams. And whoever gets their vehicle through the tunnel first wins. And I don't know what we won, but it was just weird. I don't like team building like that. It's not real. It isn't at all related to how I'm going to do my job. Then the interview portion came. And I will say, this is going to sound bad. And I apologize to the world for describing it like this. But the two guys interviewing me, here we are in this Middle Eastern majority Muslim country, were wearing their full Arab headdress with white robes, sandals, long beards. To an American in the post 9/11 world, somewhat intimidating. And the fact that they continued to whisper to each other in
Yeah,
Arabic while they were interviewing me. So I had no idea what they were saying to me. Uh,
they know
I don't know.
that.
They asked me a few technical questions about the Airbus, and I guess I fumbled a couple of them to the point where I was not invited to partake in the rest of the interview, which, several days later. However, they did say to me, uh, you know, you're here till Friday if you want. You can go home today, but your hotel's paid for. Your flight on Friday is good. This is Monday now. This is happening. So like, it's up to you.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I might as well get something out of this trip, right? I might as well go into
Yeah.
tourist mode and see what's here. I've never been to this part of the world before. That very night, now we're going back 2008. This is like pre FaceTime, pre, instant messaging was kind of a thing, texting, and I didn't pay for any of that. So anyway, I'm like emailing or something my wife, and she's like, "Oh my God, you just got recalled to your job that I was furloughed from." So
She got that notice in the mail?
I think they called her. Yeah,
Oh,
they called
wow,
her on the
that's a
phone.
home phone.
Is he available? Would he be interested in coming back to work? She's like,
Actually, he's in
absolutely,
the
he
Middle
would.
East. He's in the
She didn't say that.
She answered on your behalf. Well, it's her choice anyway, right?
Yes, she
That's
answered on my
funny.
behalf, and she's been doing it ever since. There was 10 of us that interviewed. I think two got the job all the way through. They sent like 7 of us home that day, maybe. I went, saw Dubai with another guy. which was an incredible country. So, I had a fun time. I didn't get the job, but I had a fun time on the trip. So that was
It
cool.
was worth the
Yeah.
trip, totally.
It was. It was worth the trip. I'll tell you what, the trip home was much more relaxed. I was feeling pretty good on that one.
You weren't even because you already knew you're coming back to a job. That's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But here's something that went wrong. I have, for the longest time, that I cannot trace the origins of, but I have a herniated disc in my neck. And it's just something I've been living with for longer than I can remember. And it's just always there. It's a pain. Sometimes it's worse than others. On my last day of that trip, I got out of the shower and I was toweling off, and just the motion of moving, something that has never happened before. It hasn't happened since, but my neck locked up completely and I couldn't move. And there I was standing there buck naked in this Muslim country where I thought, I can't move and they're just going to find me like this. And this is it.
Oh no, you can't be
And
naked.
I eventually limbered up enough to move, but I had to find some pain pills because I had a long ride home. And I was like, this is going to be miserable. Give me some Tylenol or something. Well, they don't have like a CVS on every corner over there. So I went down to the front desk of the hotel and I told the guy my problem. And he said, okay, this is where you go. And so I follow this guy's directions, turn down this alley, through this corner, and I come to like a garage door type of thing, like a steel roll up door in a wall in an alley, and there's just a little cutout, and there's a guy standing in this tiny little booth with a bunch of pill bottles on a shelf behind him. He's
One of
like,
each,
"What you need?"
please.
Okay, I'll take some. It's like,
I have a question about
oh
the
my gosh.
shower neck
Yes.
thing. So you did a little
Okay.
dance as you were do you do that dance? Is that just after shower is that real, or did you just do that for the show?
The dance. Is it the
You
dance
were
because I was getting no, I wasn't dancing. I was just toweling off like the I got my job back dance and I'm doing my happy
okay,
dance, that kind of
okay,
thing.
it was a happy
No,
dance
I
with the
didn't.
towel, yeah. No, you looked like you were doing the happy dance,
I think I was
but
just
I gotta
drying
say,
off.
you
No,
got
it was
me
nothing about
thinking
that.
about it because I let you talk, I didn't wanna interrupt, but I was watching you and thinking to myself, "Do I do a dance when I dry off after a Now I'm thinking to myself, like, you know how we have that hotel routine, right? But the hotel towels are always smaller than my towels at home. I have, like, monstrosity towels at home that I use. So, here I am watching you do this, thinking to myself now I'm like, my mind is going elsewhere, and I'm thinking, "You got do I do that?" Now I'm thinking like, "What did I do when I got out of the shower today? Did I shake my shoulders when I dried off my shoulders, or did I bounce my hands back and forth?" I don't know. Oh,
Well,
jeez.
no, you know what you should do is you should, set up a video camera so that when you get out
No.
of the shower, you can
So this is a podcast
and
that's
then that
called, I
goes
think,
viral.
OnlyFans. Yeah. Cats on guard goes to the, OnlyFans account.
It's on guard, goes to prison is what gonna be. Nobody wants to see any of us.
So I did ask I'm gonna steal this from my wife because it was her and I that were monkeying around. We were asking ChatGPT what would be a more lucrative career.
Oh, you were that kinda monkeying around.
Yeah, we're like, "Hey, what is the income potential over 5 years, OnlyFans versus aviation?" Right? Like, just giving it things to calculate and scan the internet for us, and it was kinda hilarious, but it made an accurate assessment. It's like, typically, it's not a good idea long term to be an OnlyFans and sustainability isn't there. And I'm like, "Well, aviation, I don't know how sustainable that is too, huh?" Like, oh, man.
Well, I guess kind of like in aviation where they make us retire at 65, you're gonna age out of OnlyFans too. Nobody's gonna I mean, I won't say nobody 'cause there's a
Everybody has
fetish for
their thing,
everything, but,
right?
you know. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, I wanted to talk about the current state of the interview process because I've been doing some research and I think I know what's going on these days. Mentioned the prep courses, and that's what it's all about now. There are these companies out there that charge thousands and thousands of dollars to poor, stupid, desperate pilots who will do anything to get that interview. And the interview is just a chance. It's not even a guarantee of a job, you know? So a lot of these people, they're going out there now and they're going to these classes. They're there's and they're specifying exactly what company, which airline are you hiring for? Okay, so this is the course that you need to take. And they know all the questions and You got to get your logbook exactly like this airline wants to see it. And so you go do that. And when you walk in, that's one of the things they ask you. What prep course did you do? And some
I
people
find
don't
that
do
very
any.
disingenuous. I would rather show up and be myself, and if you don't want me at myself, then fine, your loss.
I think that's true. But also, it's like when I didn't wear the tie, or I did wear the tie, they're like, this guy doesn't follow the rules. This guy should have known, his research should have shown that we want to see the prep course. And if he didn't do it, then he's not one of us.
If I'm not one of you without drinking Kool-Aid, then I don't wanna be.
You know, once you get invited to the interview and you've done all this stuff, it's, it's like a big production. They invite you in with all the other candidates. So it's like they put you in this little room and see who can get along and see who's fun and see who's not. They bring you, you got to give them all your logbooks and they take your logbooks. Is this right? They're just kind of looking for anything I think that they can weed out. And then American Airlines has built this museum to themselves down in Texas where their headquarters is. You know, they've been around, what, 100 years? They've got all this fancy stuff. And amongst that, I think, oh, they've got a movie theater and they show a rah rah American movie to get you all pumped up. Oh, I can't wait to work here. And then in their little museum, they've got an old DC-3 that's all polished and shiny. And so I guess what they do is they bring you out there and you all just kind of stand around the airplane waiting. And then the doors open up and the interviewers come out. And it's like a reveal on a reality competition
Yeah.
where the celebrity guests come out and the celebrity judges, but in this case, it's airline pilots doing the interview. It's like, oh, they just need
Yeah.
spotlights and music.
No, too much, too much. I don't need
Then
that. That's why I work where I work.
yeah, but then they'll like, I guess they do like a 2-on-1, so two pilots to one interviewer. And what I'm told is they will find people who have a similar background to you, the interviewee, and so basically they'll know if you're BSing through it or not. And
That's smart.
so these guys, yeah, they make it a real presentation and they know if you're there or not. And then once the talking part is over, they send all of the applicants back into a room, like a waiting room. We're just gonna let them stew there a little bit and see. And then I guess somebody will come out and like they'll have a cart. This is what I heard. They have a cart and it's full of logbooks on it. If they call your name and your logbook is on that cart, you follow this guy through a door and you are never heard from again. And I guess that's your no at that point. Everybody else gets a job offer.
So my logbooks, I have 2. I have one, my first logbook that went all the way to, like, I don't know, probably a little over 1,000 hours. Some jet time is in it. And then my second logbook is very, very lightly full before I convert it to digital. So I've never really understood what everyone's needs are for. I mean, everybody knows that everyone converted to digital at some point for the most part. And once it converts to digital, it's much easier to read. But I sent everything from logbook page 1 to present. Now, on my way out the door of one of my jobs before while I was converting to digital, and I knew I'd be leaving at some point in the next few years. So I spent all of my downtime on the road, like I only did this on company time at the hotel or whatever, converting my logbooks to digital until all of them were in the digital logbook. Now I show up if I had an interview, I hand them those paper logs, but I hand them a really nicely printed from Kinko's conversion on digital from leg one, first flight to present. And I say, hey, here's the paper logs, but everything you want to see is right here in this neat little 40-page super book, 18 by 11, nicely bound, good colors, everything's pre-sorted, and there's a summaries page at the front with all the things they want to see. So digital logs make it super easy. If you're just getting started out, if you only have a few dozen pages of logbook time or less, start digital now if you're going pro. It is going to make life way easier for you later. I'll get off my soapbox.
But I think that's true, and I think a lot of the older guys like you and me probably have mostly paper. So if you're going to convert, yeah, you bring that pretty conversion of the digital thing, which is nice because there would be no mistakes in it. Hopefully, because the math adds up. if you go and look at my old paper logbooks, there's so many math mistakes in it. I have to convert if I ever want anybody to read this because then it's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah, I converted wrong in my paper
You
conversion. There
converted
was like a
wrong.
no, there was a 300-hour error at the end of a page. A 7 looked like a 4, a 4 looked like a 7 or something with the way it was scribbled in by the line, and it was a 300, and I went back and found the 7 and 4 issue, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, that's a 7 and it should be a 4." I'm like, "Why am I 300 hours off on time?" Like, that's a lot of hours, right? But it was a clean 300, so it made it easy to find in the paper. Like, you don't just magically end up 300.0 hours off. There's obviously a single numerical issue here, and I found it. It was a handwritten 4, right? Or a hand well, I don't remember. Anyway, it's a long time ago. Yeah. But yeah, once you put it all into if you put the individual legs into the logbook, it will total out correct. And then I was able to go back and find it. So that was cool.
That's you're lucky because that's like a full year, 307 hours, 700 hours, 300 hours. That's like a full
Yeah,
year of flying.
but that's just from the conversion. That's not from what do you call it? Like I didn't just carry that over in a logbook because it was one of the total up endings or whatever at the bottom when you total up your day and you add, 43 to I don't know. I don't know how many thousands or whatever I had at that page, but it wasn't like a relevant number. It's still with okay, so I find it funny too if you ask people about their hours and they claim they're if they tell you your hours with a decimal point or with a single digit, like I have
Yeah.
742 hours. There's a difference between that pilot and the guy that's like, I don't know, 7, 8,000 or, 4,500
Oh
or
yeah.
five.
I've
Like
heard
when
I've heard, the hat crowd, like the hat and the
yeah,
double breasted, like they will pick you apart. If you were like point 0.1 on one line and 0.10, so it's the same number, but you didn't go that extra. Oh yeah, you're out.
cool.
That's and do
Well,
you want to work for those people at that
that's
point
what I'm
anyway?
saying. It's not, yeah, that's not somewhere I can't live like that. Yeah.
So I don't know, but that's it. I think that's all my interview experience. I don't have anything else to offer at this point. Do you?
I do. I want to put something in a perspective from the current job I'm working at, which I am exceptionally happy with, and relating it to other jobs I've had in the past that I, maybe was happy with or wasn't, or who knows what. But the whole flow of the interview changes based on where you're at in your career, too. Like, I, not to say don't need, I'm not begging for a job in an interview. I'm there to come work here, right? It's easier to get through an interview if you have options. So you can interview more
Absolutely.
calmly. You can interview them. I had some questions I asked during my last
Yes, I
interview
was going to
for
say
this
that.
job
I was going to say exactly
that
that.
yeah, and one of the things they did during the interview, which was new to me, was they put this like dry erase board drawing on the board, and they had 3 buckets, and it was like bucket A, B, and C, and like a handful of call it tennis balls drawn on the board or whatever it was, right? You can put your tennis balls in any of these buckets. Where would you put all your tennis balls, right? So one of the buckets was pay, one was quality of life, and one was like workplace camaraderie, friendship, work environment, like, for your time at work. And I put like I don't remember the number of balls I had to put, but I put like the minimal one ball in the workplace thing, and I put all my ball or most of the balls in QOL and the rest in pay. Because obviously I want to, I mean, but they were like, okay, now explain yourself. And I thought it was a really cool interview tactic because that lets me figure them out and it lets them figure me out. And I said, hey, you know, if you pay me an average amount to do this and I have the quality of life to raise my family at the same time, I don't care about the rest of it because I come here, I do the job you pay me to do, and I go home. And I don't need and I'm not going to be able to participate in like, out of hours workplace retreats and company, outing to the ballpark or whatever. Like I may go, I may not, I can't, but I'm not looking to need that. I don't need it. I can make friends with anybody at work. That's part of being a professional pilot. You be the chameleon or whatever you got to be to get through the work trip. They obviously liked it. They hired me, but I explained to them, I'm like, this is no offense to you guys. I'm only putting one ball in the bucket about like workplace environment because I'm sure the workplace environment is just fine. It's the same as every other pilot workplace environment. We complain. That's all we do.
That's it then. So if you get through that, I guess you're golden.
Hey, they hired me, so something must have gone right.
You got the job. I got the job. We're both happy, right? All right. I am MC Howe.
I'm co-captain Richard Million.
We'll see you next time.